They may look and sound like sheep, but if you look closely, these white woolly creatures could be New Zealand farmers' ticket to riches. These are cashmere goats. Deep in South Otago, just out of Clinton, is a modest farm run by entrepreneur David Shaw. Originally a sheep and cattle farmer, he has now found a new cash crop: cashmere goats. At first glance, they may look like any other old goat.
Stay.
But their winter coats are David's soft gold. Being a country proud of its sheep and beef, having goats on farms might seem like a new venture for New Zealand. But the cashmere fibre has been prized around the world for thousands of years. Originating from the Kashmiri province in northern India, cashmere was fit for kings, sultans, and noblemen as a symbol of status. Cashmere shawls, carpets, and elegant garments have always been worth a small fortune. And today is no different.
Cashmere is renowned for its softness and its warmth and its lightweight. Most of the big fashion labels around the world use cashmere in their very, very best and highest value garments.
The thickness of a single goat fibre is measured in microns. It is considered cashmere when it is under 19 microns thick, which is over 3 times finer than a human hair. And that is why cashmere has such a luxurious reputation in the fashion industry. Although people have been in awe of cashmere for millennia, these goats have only been trotting along New Zealand farmland since the 1700s. Over 200 years ago, Captain Cook brought over feral goats from Europe to gift to Maori chiefs. This founding population has been selectively bred ever since for their milk, meat, and fibre. And New Zealand farmers decided to take the goats by the horns.
In the 1980s, there was a big boom with goats on farms, and the industry grew from basically nothing to over 1 million goats being farmed in about 7 or 8 years. Following that, the international marketplace had an economic depression following the '87 stock market crash, and goats hadn't quite reached their full potential at that period. A lot of farmers and investors had dabbled with goats and got their fingers burned, and that still resonates with some people today because those memories run deep.
But David didn't give up. He took the best genetics from his multicoloured feral goats and selectively bred them for 30 years, until suddenly he had hundreds of pure white fluffy goats producing a lot of cashmere. Having white-coated goats means less colour processing to make clothing, leaving the cashmere David produces at a higher quality.
We have carried on selecting and breeding, and today we have animals that are beautifully white and fluffy, which is something that we dreamt about when we started.
This genetic success story led David to form New Zealand Cashmere Genetics. Establishing partnerships with fibre manufacturers allowed for a whole new avenue: consumerism.
We have great examples like Merino New Zealand and Silver Fern Farms that are selling our products around the world. So the opportunity is for us to add a new product into the international marketplace. We're not actually producing a fibre and then looking for a market. The market is existing, it's been there for decades and is looking for more supply.
Presently, most of the world's cashmere fibre comes from the Northern Hemisphere. But David believes his homegrown cashmere has great potential on the world stage, and that New Zealand farmers can fetch a pretty penny for it.
Today we have animals producing well over half a kilo of cashmere, and at over $100 a kilo, up to $150 a kilo. We're producing animals that are producing really, really good returns.
Because goats are about half the size of a sheep, farmers can have space for more stock units. The great fibre return and the surplus meat value makes goats very competitive in the farming game. Sustainable clothing company Untouched World is on board from a commercial standpoint.
I think farming cashmere goats for New Zealand is absolutely going to be a game changer. For us being able to use New Zealand farmed cashmere will be fantastic, because we like to be able to trace all of our products from the farm right through to the finished product. So we blend cashmere and make the beautiful lightweight garments that perform so well. You just want to wear them all the time. It's a great fibre.
But it's not all about rolling in this soft gold for David. Alongside New Zealand cashmere, he has a mission to get New Zealand farmers on board with farming these goats.
New Zealand farmers face a whole range of new issues about environmental footprint. Goats have an opportunity for farmers to meet some of these obligations because they eat a lot of weeds that our sheep and our cattle don't actually eat.
Eating the weeds reduces the farmer's need to use pesticides, benefiting the environment and improving stock yield. This, along with an established market, are just some of the benefits New Zealand cashmere boasts. But there still seems to be a lot of pushback from New Zealand farmers. Deep in the Maniototo region is Closeburn Station, a 4,000-hectare sheep farm run by Tony Clark, who dabbled with goats back in the day.
I was a young fella, my neighbour and myself, we went away and brought them when they were worth a few dollars. Yeah, it was funny, it was really funny. But you'd share them and you'd think you're killing some poor child because of the noise they're making. We'd sort of get about $1,500, we'd split and we'd use it as beer money. That's my goat farming. Yeah, and bastards keep eating my kale.
Tony isn't convinced goats are as easy as the stock standard New Zealand sheep.
They come with their own problems. So these sort of goats don't tend to jump, they go under or through. So our fencing that we're doing is not adequate for if we're going to run goats. If you look at this country around you, if you tried to fence it, we're probably looking at well over $1 million. It's a can of worms, don't start me.
For Tony, even cashmere's top dollar doesn't come without a catch.
So $150 a kilo is actually, it's good money, but you don't get a lot of cashmere off each one. It's just the logistics. You know, we tried it and it wasn't easy. Because I mean, I'm a businessman at the end of the day, and if I'm going to make enough money out of something, then you're always open to ideas.
And it's not just problems in the paddock. The fibre industry would face its own challenges with the New Zealand cashmere movement.
I don't think the farmers are, pushing back. Goats jump anything. Come and leave the door open, they're sitting at the front table with you, Look, they're just nuts. So you're going, they're little quirky little things. But we just don't have the infrastructure or the investment. The machinery around it takes 2 to 3 years to build, and that's one of the big things, because it's just not as easy as rocking up to any old farm and chucking some goats out, and hopefully they'll be there in a couple of weeks or even the end of the year. So that's what we've got to look at.
Despite the costs of keeping them in one place, there are some lesser-known benefits to chucking some goats in the paddock.
Cashmere goats have a lot more potential than we realise. It's the additional benefits you would have from being able to reduce your chemical sprays, weed control and such, and being able to improve and maintain your pasture quality through a more sustainable means. It's actually bringing in not just a product producing animal, but also bringing in an environment managing tool onto a farm. It's not an attempt to bring back the old cashmere industry. It's looking at new ways of incorporating cashmere into existing farming, being able to use them for new ways of farming and offer another additional revenue stream.
Goats could be very competitive in the New Zealand farming industry, but they're currently underestimated.
Room has to be made at the podium alongside cattle and sheep, and if we can share some of that podium, we can put goats there and provide something out to the world.
Some of New Zealand cashmere's goats have even made it up to the Waipara region. Felicity McLaughlin has integrated 35 goats onto her North Canterbury farm.
I bought the family farm. I'm just trying to make the best of it. I thought, what animal can I start breeding up to help me with the extra payments and that kind of thing? I know that sheep, you need drench and shearing and everything. Cattle, they drink a lot of water. That's the downside of them. Goats actually don't drink a lot of water, which is really good. They are easy to manage once you've got a good setup going.
Bred from David Shaw's flock, these cashmere goats have thrived in their new home.
I've got my first flock of goats in January 2019. Really quite exciting actually, and keep the soil really well. They're quite cute.
And Felicity has an effective way to keep her goats in one place.
So if they've got electricity and they've got hot wires, they should be right. All they need is a standard with a hot wire at the top. I just put outriggers, and if it's knee height, they don't push through the fence. They're quite good. It's worth it. It's a lot cheaper than some of the other plastic fencing gear. I think the most interesting part for me is getting into the yards with them and trying to not get speared by their horns. It's a dancing act. They pretty much look after themselves. The only thing you really need to worry about is the fences. It's pretty much like everything else that you share.
And Felicity is not the only farmer taking on the challenge. Thanks to David's field days, the word about New Zealand cashmere is getting around the farming community, with already 20 established flocks around the country.
A lot of farmers hesitate when you mention goats because they have a whole lot of preconceived ideas in their mind about the history of the industry, the boom and the bust that happened before. We just encourage farmers to get a few and try them and learn about the best techniques and use them in their farming operations. And when we actually talk to farmers at field days and workshops, they raise a lot of those ideas and issues. As soon as you just mention the word cashmere, it's quite a different conversation because they understand the fibre.
And that is something everyone can agree on.
Cashmere is a lovely fibre. I just think any natural fibre is a great fibre.
Merino and cashmere blended together, it's a beautiful product. It's a natural, renewable fibre. There's no way you can knock that.
Is cashmere worth the hype? Yes, it is. I haven't found something so light and so warm that actually lives up to the performance hype. Where buying synthetics, often you're wondering really what it is you're buying. I think with cashmere, it's pretty clear what it is you're buying.
There's a tremendous opportunity for farmers to integrate goats into their farming systems. And we're actively looking for new farmers to get started, and we'd encourage anybody to get in touch and we can help them and show them how to get started.
By making space for goats on the podium of premium farming exports, New Zealand is on the cusp of a great opportunity. Farmers who take a chance on cashmere goats could be spinning their future into soft gold.